Something remarkable just happened inside the global lithium supply chain, and almost nobody outside Canada and South Korea noticed it. In a quiet move with massive consequences, Prairie Lithium signed a decade-long offtake agreement with Hydrolithium, a key player in the South Korean battery industry. What begins as a modest contract has the potential to evolve into a $5 billion clean energy investment that reshapes strategic resources, rewires global supply chains, and positions Canada at the center of the EV battery market. This wasn't supposed to happen so fast, and yet this silent shift may redefine energy security across the Indo-Pacific. Welcome to Geo Capitalist, the channel where we uncover the strategic decisions quietly reshaping the global economy. Today's story connects Canada, South Korea, and the future of clean energy technologies. This is the real story behind Canada's $5 billion lithium shift, a deal transforming the EV battery market and global supply chains. If you enjoy high-value analysis with clarity, consider subscribing. Let's explore a lithium shift no one saw coming. Over the last decade, lithium has become the backbone of clean energy investment, powering everything from electric vehicles to renewable energy storage systems. Yet, despite soaring demand, the global lithium supply chain remains narrow, fragile, and dominated by a handful of jurisdictions. That's why Canada's emerging lithium strategy is attracting so much attention. Prairie Lithium's breakthrough in Saskatchewan, built on advanced industrial innovation and direct extraction technology, signaled that Canada could evolve from a marginal player into a meaningful supplier of strategic resources. The timing could not be more critical. As nations shift toward electrification, the EV battery market is under unprecedented pressure to secure stable, long-term mineral sources. Companies in South Korea, Japan, Europe, and even the United States have been scanning the world for reliable partners. What they found in Canada is rare: a jurisdiction with democratic stability, environmental transparency, logistical access to Indo-Pacific markets, and a regulatory framework built for global supply chains. The Prairie Hydrolithium partnership crystallizes this perception and marks the beginning of a much larger geopolitical shift. For South Korea, this agreement is a strategic lifeline. The country sits at the heart of the global EV battery market, home to industrial giants like LG Energy Solution, Samsung SDI, and SK On. Yet its dependence on minerals refined in China has become a critical vulnerability, one that threatens both energy security and economic resilience. By securing a decade-long offtake deal with Prairie Lithium, the South Korean battery industry gains something it values even more than volume: predictability. The contract begins with modest shipments but includes full support for expansion toward commercial-scale production. This positions Canada as a privileged supplier of critical minerals at a time when competition for secure sources is intensifying globally. For Seoul, it diversifies risk. For Ottawa, it elevates Canada into an emerging Indo-Pacific supplier. And for the broader lithium supply chain, it signals that the world's premier battery manufacturers are beginning to hedge against geopolitical volatility by forming alliances with countries that offer regulatory stability and transparent governance. Lithium's strategic importance cannot be overstated. It is the core material that enables mobile computing, renewable energy storage, smart grids, and nearly every industrial innovation driving modern electrification. As nations race to build EV fleets and expand clean energy infrastructure, demand for battery-grade lithium carbonate and hydroxide continues to surge. Yet despite this growth, supply remains constrained. Many operations rely on brine evaporation or hard rock extraction in regions with political, environmental, or logistical bottlenecks. That's why Prairie Lithium's direct extraction technology marks a turning point. It promises faster output, lower environmental impact, and greater scalability, features that appeal strongly to South Korea's high-tech manufacturing sector. Canada's advantage lies not only in geology, but in governance. A transparent regulatory environment, world-class research institutions, and strong alliances with democratic markets. This creates a uniquely attractive position in the global supply chain. The Prairie Hydro Partnership showcases how Canada can convert geological potential into industrial relevance, aligning its natural resources with the world's most advanced battery manufacturers. The United States is watching these developments closely. Under the Inflation Reduction Act and related legislation, Washington has poured billions into reshaping North America's clean energy ecosystem. But despite its ambitions, the U.S. lacks significant domestic lithium reserves, making it heavily dependent on external suppliers. For decades, Canada was assumed to be the natural backstop for U.S. mineral needs. Yet this new Canada-South Korea alignment introduces competitive pressure. It demonstrates that Canada is not bound to a single market and is fully capable of forging independent alliances that optimize its long-term economic and geopolitical interests. While the U.S. remains a primary partner, the diversification of Canada's lithium strategy signals a more multipolar supply chain landscape. This shift doesn't threaten Washington, but it does force American policymakers to accelerate domestic projects and strengthen mineral partnerships. Canada's emergence as a preferred supplier for advanced economies underscores a broader trend. Strategic resources are no longer automatically funneled through traditional channels. They follow value, reliability, and industrial opportunity. If the Prairie Hydrolithium agreement scales to its projected output, up to 10,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent annually, the global impact will be substantial. Such volumes would create one of the most important Indo-Pacific supply routes for battery materials outside China's sphere of influence. This would reshape global supply chains, offering automakers and energy companies more diversified procurement options. South Korea gains a long-term high-quality feedstock for its industrial ecosystem. Canada gains deeper integration into Asia's advanced materials market. The ripple effects extend to Japan, Europe, and even emerging EV producers seeking stable, non-Chinese sources of critical minerals. Analysts already describe this model as a blueprint for future clean energy investment across North America. The alliance proves that Canada can provide not only raw materials, but also predictability, a trait increasingly rare in the critical minerals space. With geopolitical tensions rising across the Indo-Pacific, stable partnerships like this one will determine which nations dominate next-generation manufacturing. The domestic implications for Canada are equally significant. Securing a long-term buyer dramatically reduces risk for Prairie Lithium and attracts additional investors seeking exposure to the critical minerals sector. This accelerates Canada's broader energy transition strategy, encouraging new exploration, upgrading infrastructure, and expanding early-stage processing capacity. The deal also highlights Saskatchewan's growing role as an industrial innovation hub. Long recognized for potash, the province is now emerging as a leader in strategic resources vital to clean energy technologies. As capital flows into extraction, pilot plants, and downstream processing, Canada strengthens its position as an essential player in the evolving EV battery market. In the long term, this momentum may support the development of domestic precursor materials or cathode active production, allowing Canada to move further up the value chain. The Prairie Hydro Agreement is more than a commercial contract. It is a catalyst shaping how Canada integrates into global supply chains and positions itself in the clean energy economy. China remains the dominant force in the global lithium supply chain, controlling most of the world's refining capacity. But deals like the Canada-South Korea alliance represent the beginning of a slow rebalancing. While the volume is relatively small today, the symbolism is powerful. Major democracies are establishing parallel supply pathways that bypass Chinese processing. For Beijing, this is a reminder that strategic resources are becoming increasingly politicized. Nations are securing minerals not just for growth, but for resilience. South Korea diversifies its battery inputs. Canada expands its role as a critical supplier. And like-minded economies build cleaner, more transparent supply chains. Over time, these shifts could reduce China's leverage over global EV and energy storage industries. For now, the Canada-Korea partnership acts as a signal. Countries with strong governance and industrial capacity can reshape the rules of the game, one agreement at a time. The lithium landscape is becoming more distributed, and Canada is stepping confidently into the center of that transition. Taken together, this $5 billion lithium shift reveals a deeper transformation within the global clean energy arena. Canada is no longer just a resource exporter. It is becoming a structural pillar of energy security for some of the world's most advanced economies. South Korea gains a strategic supply route that strengthens its manufacturing dominance, while Canada gains long-term access to Indo-Pacific markets and a stronger voice in shaping critical mineral policies. These developments highlight an emerging reality. The future of industrial power will be defined not only by technology, but by control of the materials that fuel it. What Prairie Lithium and Hydrolithium initiated is more than a commercial deal. It is the foundation of a new alignment in the EV battery market. And though it unfolded quietly, its consequences will ripple across the next decade of global supply chains, industrial strategy, and geopolitical competition. Canada's lithium shift shows how the most transformative changes often begin quietly. A single agreement between a Canadian innovator and a South Korean battery leader has opened a new chapter in global supply chains, one defined by resilience, clean energy investment, and strategic cooperation among democratic economies. As competition for critical minerals intensifies, partnerships like this will determine who leads the next generation of industrial growth. If you gained clarity today, I invite you to watch the next video, because the world is shifting fast and every alliance tells a story. Consider subscribing. There are many more shifts underway that reveal where economic power is moving. Thank you for being here, for your comments, and for your trust. See you in the next video.